hit some notes. So are we ready to go?
Would you mind,
You've been out of school for so long. You're like, I am so ready. So I know it. I know it. You feeling it? Yep. All right. So get on to the notes that I shared. You
may walk them through how to do that.
All right. So when you open up the classroom. There we go. Okay. When you guys open up your literature class, you're going to find the top. It should be the top assignment that's posted, figurative language and literary elements. Okay. Open that up. And you'll actually click on it'll be the last thing that I posted on that particular, I don't think I used the words right. It'll be the last assignment that I posted on that post. All right, so it says copy of literature notes is what it says, okay? Now I've done a lot of the notes for you. You guys just have to go through and add and underline or highlight, okay? So you'll be good to go. All right, so you guys, I didn't want to do that one. Gosh darn it, I'm erasing that. Okay, hopefully you didn't see it. Okay, so summarization, guys. That's what we're gonna start out with today. The notes that we do today you're gonna use directly on the poem. There's a couple poems that you have for homework, so you're gonna use that directly with that. So I just wanna make sure that you understand. A lot of you know these and you're experts at all these. That's okay. So you should be able to discuss them. And I highly want you to discuss these and interact with us on this because the last class was kind of quiet. So I'm going to expect you guys to be a little bit louder, communicate your thoughts more. I would highly appreciate it. So, and recommend it. I don't want you just to sit there quietly and listen to me because it's kind of boring. Okay. All right. So summarization. Who's got a good definition? If I wanted to tell a friend like what happened on this movie of Trolls. Anybody watch Trolls? Is it out? Oh yeah, Adrian has. Oh yeah. I have not. So I have two 19-year-old boys, and that's just not one of the genre that's in our household right now.
My 1-year-old niece just purchased that movie accidentally
yeah?
the other day. Yeah, so apparently it's a hit. It's a huge hit.
1-year-old? Is that what you said?
Yep. Got a hold of the remote and pushed like 3 buttons and it was purchased. So, yep.
Oh my gosh.
I think she
That's
knew
awesome.
exactly what she was doing.
She does. She does know exactly what she's doing.
They know earlier and earlier, don't they?
Yep.
That's awesome. Okay, so anyway, if you're going to summarize that particular movie for somebody, me, because I mean, I haven't seen it, but anyway, what would you do? Help me out. What would I do? Give me some ideas. How am I going to define that?
The basic principles of the story.
The basic principles of the story? I like it. That's good. Anybody else got anything else to add? You notice the redundancy in that comment that I made? Does anybody else have anything else? Lots of redundancy. See, I've been out of school quite a while too, so. Alyssa, how about you? Comments? Summarization?
The main things that happened in the story.
Yeah. It's just writing down those main things that happened in the story, right? Okay. Caitlin? Any ideas? Got a better definition?
Make
what?
Like a couple short paragraphs about the important details of the plot line.
Oh, about the plot line. Okay, yeah, because if I'm doing a movie, I'm going to talk about the plot, right? So that's good. All right, so we'll try to express your summaries into a summary here.
So you all should be adding this to your notes. You can write them down if you want, but this document that she has, that she's typing on, is available to you in your Google Classroom as well. So if you want to use that, feel free.
Okay. So to express important details and facts about something or someone, right? In a short and clear form. Is that pretty much kind of what you said? And yeah, just write down, just make sure you take the notes. A lot of these terms you saw on the pretest you guys took. So we're going to be working with those terms and within the stories we're going to do. And so make sure you have these down. So sorry. Okay. So main idea. Okay, so main idea, you guys, so help me out. So when you guys got on to the Zoom this, when you guys got on and you were talking about a subject, okay, a topic, what was it about really? Help me out. What was that subject matter based on? Any ideas? Was anybody listening to before we started class? What was the topic?
What did I talk about? What was I asking you guys about?
Group names of like what a group of animals or something was called.
There you go. So you're talking about like a group of unicorns, a group of lions, a group of cats, right? So now, if I were going to put the main idea into, like if I was going to express the main idea of that, what would have been? Help me out, Malachi. I know you know. Groups?
Just groups of animals.
Groups of animals or group names of our animals, right? Okay. Some of you might have maybe got on the very beginning where I think it was more like unicorns. So what were a group of unicorns called? So, okay. So the most important idea of that discussion was the group names, right, of animals. So if anybody, make sure you have this information, most important thought about a topic. If you make sure that if you're using this, please make sure you go through and underline or highlight the most important words within there. That just helps you kind of remember and retain information. Okay. All right, so going on to the theme. So if we were going to discuss that theme of that discussion that you had, in other words, what was the underlying message? Okay, what was the underlying meaning of that discussion? Who can help me out there? Jenna, how about you? Like, really? Seriously? Got an idea? How about Addison? Got an idea? What will be the what?
Nope.
Well, could we, could you get into, if you were talking about a group of animals, could you get into relationships or even technical names, possibly, depending on where you're going to go with it, what you're going to write about? So, if you were discussing a group of unicorns and being that it's a blessing, all right, you could go into different themes. If you're going to write about that, you could talk about, you know, a little bit. You could talk about relationships. You could talk about various names and how, or maybe the historical piece of how that came to be. Or, you know, there's all kinds of themes that you could go with, but or messages. But that was more of a technical type of discussion, group names. So that would be more of your theme there, the main idea. Okay. But if I was going to look at a movie like Trolls, like many of you have seen, anybody have a theme for that one?
Who has seen Trolls, the movie?
Like, what was the message, or what was the lesson?
No one, except Adrian.
Has anybody ever seen? What about like if you look at a movie like everybody's seen? What's another movie that? How about Finding Nemo? Everybody has seen that movie, right? So, what would be the theme or message from that movie? Like one word.
You probably know this one.
Somebody help me out.
Lost.
Lost. Well, at some point in the movie, yeah. I mean, and what do we do when we're
If you had to
lost?
sum up the whole movie.
So if you're gonna like look at the whole entire movie as a whole, what would be like the main message of that movie? Because all throughout the movie, you know, the dad was in regret and remorse because of what he did to Nemo, right? It's been a while since I've seen this, but and then throughout the whole movie, he finds Dory, and they, you know, go through all these adventures together to find his lost son, who is in a fish tank in a dentist's office. Any good words for that? Any good theme? Like one word. Jenna? William?
Searching?
Well, that's kind of the verb. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're searching for Nemo. Like, what would be the message for that?
It's about family, isn't it?
Who said family? Who said that?
Alyssa.
That was me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Anya.
Family. I mean, if for a family member, I mean, you never give up on your family, right? Or friends, or whatever it might be. There's some people that you just go and you sacrifice your whole life, or you sacrifice all kinds of things to make sure that they're okay, you know? So that's a good one. Family's a good one. If you said that one, that's great. There's lots of themes that could come from that. Friendship with Dory and Marlin, you know, that's a great one, because without that friendship, they would have never found his son. And so lots of good things. Okay, so that's a theme. Everybody got the definition for that? Good to go? Tone. Tone is the whole attitude that that an author has for a story. So, you know, if I was looking at a movie like Finding Nemo, okay, the author, I mean, pretty much, I mean, you can tell that, I mean, there's a lot of different values that we can learn from this movie about, you know, how to treat one another, you know, what to say and what not to say, you know, how to, you know, and, you know, it's a very happy and joyful feeling throughout the movie, especially when they, you know, they find clues, and then especially when they find Nemo, okay? Very, very exciting when they finally come together again, okay? So the tone of that movie, you know, there's different tones depending on where you are in that movie, but very happy and joyful, of course, you know, excited to get to find one another again. Okay, so tone is the attitude, all right, that an author has when he writes. So if you're writing about, like if you really, like on the unicorn subject, if you really do not like unicorns and any kind of horses or anything that has to do with unicorns, because maybe you read a bad story about unicorns that made you sad when you were little. Who knows? You might not, when you write about unicorns, it might not be very happy, okay? You know, if you write about war, you know, the attitude towards war is not going to be probably very happy. The tone is going to be anger, more or less, a lot in many writings that you find about wartime, okay? So attitude the author has about a subject, okay? The first example, it says, "Father, we are going on a vacation." Son says, "That is great." So Brianna, what do you think? What's the tone on that first example? We are going on a
So
vacation.
it's like an attitude, right? So like happy.
Happy, yeah, he's excited. It's like, yeah, man, we got on a vacation. We're awesome, woohoo. Okay, so the second example, still talking about vacation, but it changes a little bit. It says, the father says, "We can't go on a vacation this summer." The son says, "Oh yeah, great. That's what I expected." Faith, what do you think? What's that one present? What kind of tone?
I don't know.
So we can't go on a vacation. Dang the heck. You know, and the son's like, "Oh my gosh."
Like disappointed.
Disappointed. Yeah. Disappointment. Okay. A lot of sarcasm there. Like, yeah, that's great. You know, he does. I mean, he's being sarcastic because, I mean, great. He didn't actually think that's great because he really could tell you wanted to go on a vacation, but like, dang, disappointed that you couldn't. Okay. So this last one says, look at this last example. It says, "Can someone tell me what intonation is going on in here?" What do you think about that one? William, what kind of tone is that one express? Any idea, William? Can someone tell me what in the tarnation is going on here? Any ideas come up? If the mother walked in and there's clutter and flour and sugar all over the kitchen, do you think the mother's happy about that? Might express a little bit of anger, possibly.
Maybe some surprise too.
A little bit of surprise. All right, going on, guys. Make sure you have the definition for cause and effect. Most of you have worked with lots of cause and effect types of writings, but there is a relationship between the actions or events that happen in a situation, and it's going to bring about results, okay, or consequences, all right, or effects, okay, that come from those actions. Okay, so cause and effect uses words, signal words that you'll see in a paragraph or an article, such as because, since, due to, therefore, effect, consequently. Those are common ones that you'll see. That's not all of them. If you Google the list of cause and effect signal words, you would find a few more than that. Okay, so these are just common ones that you might come across in an article. A lot of times when you're reading an article and you are writing something and you want to make as an author, you want to show emphasis of, you know, the effects of smoking, okay, or the effects of texting and driving. You're going to see a lot of cause and effect type of writing within argumentative, persuasive type of papers, because you're going to want to show like the negative or positive effects of something, okay, to really draw your reader into believing you. So that's a persuasive piece. So you're going to see a lot of cause and effect type of writing within those type of persuasive papers, okay. So this is an example here. We received 7 inches of rain overnight. Shaw Road was flooded. good example of a cause and effect, right? That's what's going to happen. If we did that, saw that much rain, you're going to see a flood. If I never brushed my teeth might turn brown, or they might turn yellow, or they might fall out, or I might be getting a lot of cavities, or I might have to get a root canal, or yeah, or I might have to get dentures way early. So that's something, or nobody would pay attention to me because my mouth stinks. Okay, so another good example of a cause and effect. Give me something else. Anybody have an example?
What happens if you might get called on? What would that be? What would effect would happen if you get called on?
Was called on during a Zoom meeting.
So, ... Perla, what happens when you get called on?
I think you have to answer.
You have to say an answer. Great. Excellent job, Perla.
Might be a
Yay!
good way to remind people that you have to participate to get your money. Just saying that.
Since I did not do my homework, what happened? Caitlin?
I failed my class.
I failed the class.
Just for the record, no, I'm not high-fiving failing the class. Just high-fiving that you answered the question. Good job.
Clarify.
Yeah. So good job, cause and effect. All right, make sure you have the definition and at least one example, guys. Okay. All right. Just going on, elevated diction is actually the difference between you guys writing and text, okay, to your friend versus writing a text to Daniel, possibly, okay, or your boss, okay, or your teacher. All right, so there's a difference in the wording that you will use, okay? That's elevated. Elevating means, you know, you're going up, right? So you're increasing your word. You're increasing the words that you use to make it more formal, okay? So you do this. Sorry, my kid just let in all the animals. So if I were writing an essay, all right, my essay is going to be, you're going to use words that are more elevated, more powerful, possibly more meaningful, all right? You're not just going to use just basic words, okay? So if I looked at the example here where it says, I am much obliged to you, sir, versus thanks a bunch, buddy, all right? So one is more elevated than the other. Which one's more elevated? Jenna, what do you think? Is this stressing you out? Well, it's not supposed to stress you out. William, what do you think? Which one's more elevated?
I think William, oh, there he is.
Thanks.
So if I said, I am much obliged to you, sir, that's something that you might say to an older person or maybe to your principal, all right? Someone that's, you know, because it's obliged, you know, how often do you use obliged anymore for things, okay? So that's more elevated, all right? Versus, thanks so much, buddy. That's just something you'd text your friend, all right? So this one's definitely more elevated diction. Diction is just the writing that you use in a piece, okay? So, you guys understand that? It's more formal, all right? That's right. Writing a letter, writing a long text to your friend versus writing an essay for your teacher. Okay. You're going to use more elevated diction in an essay. All right, going on. Got to move on here. Poignant. Poignant's a word that it just carries sadness with it. Okay. I use the example here about war because war carries sadness, regrets, remorse. There's just picked images of death all around when I think about war. I've studied a lot on the Holocaust and World War II. It's just like, oh my gosh, just awful destruction that happens within war. So, that's a great context clue for what poignant describes, because it just conveys sadness and regret. So poignant is more of a negative connotative word. Okay. Something that you might use, that I want you to use and I want you to identify with. I'll give you such words, just carry them. Once in a while, I'm not going to load you up with all this higher vocabulary, but there are some words that I do want you to understand and master, okay? So, poignant, all right? So, a poignant portrayal of the effects of war that touched every aspect of society. And, war does touch every aspect of society, so in negative ways usually. Okay. I don't want to go too much into figurative language. Today I do want you to understand what a metaphor, make sure you have the definition of a metaphor down. If you don't know it, and all a metaphor does is it compares one thing to another, okay? So it just provides a clear picture possibly of what might be going on. So if I said the classroom was a zoo, all right, so it's definitely I'm gonna get this image like everybody's just everywhere. They're talking, they're out of their seats, they might be on their desk, I don't know, they're running around like playing tag, okay? Kind of like monkeys in a zoo, kind of what you get an image of. So that's what metaphors do. They just give a clear picture of really what's going on in reality in a creative way. This first example, the teacher was a wildfire of rage. Well, something probably happened. A student said something that, wasn't right or being sarcastic in the wrong way about the subject matter. And it just caused a lot of rage within that teacher. And I know you guys have all had those teachers that blow up. Like, why did you say that? Okay, so make sure you get the definition of a metaphor down, understand what that is. Make sure you have an example there down of what a metaphor is. The extended metaphor, those are long. Extended means long, right? So there's a length. So make sure you understand that it's just, a lot of times an extended metaphor, you're not actually going to know the comparison until you read the entire story or if you read the entire poem. It just goes, or there's going to be all kinds of comparisons that's made throughout the whole story that is really just signifying one whole entire comparison, okay, one theme. And throughout the whole story, it's just making all these types of comparisons to this one theme. So that's an extended metaphor. The Raven, ever read The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe? Talks about the raven and it goes all kinds of different descriptions of the raven and how it was disturbing him, okay? And it was causing all this madness in his head. So, all right. Another example of an extended metaphor. Some of you, I'm not sure if you've read Romeo and Juliet, but you probably haven't. Kind of depends on your school. There's a balcony scene and Romeo gives this whole entire speech about how Romeo reminds him of the sun and summer and all these different words that convey her beauty and how much he loves her And this whole entire speech is actually comparing her to the sun. Okay. All right. Extended metaphor. Okay. Implicit, what I want you to take out of implicit metaphor is it has no be verbs. Implicit implied statements are things that you don't really know what's going on. Like, I know you guys have worked with implied main idea. It's not really stated. You kind of have to read the whole thing to figure out what's going on. Same thing with implied or implicit metaphors. You kind of have to read the entire paragraph or a sentence to figure out what is actually being compared. So they don't actually give a specific comparison. There's two examples here. Make sure you just have one of them. Ella finally lured Devin into her web. There's not a specific comparison made. We just know that Ella was attracted to Devin and somehow she finally made that, did whatever to get his attention and lured her into her web of life and talking to her possibly. Another example here, the sister stalked her brother before pouncing on her prey. Okay, so the prey is her brother, of course, and here she is stalking him, but there's no real comparison made other than that she's very ornery, probably. She might be a little bit bullish towards her brother and stalking him until he's like, gotcha. Or maybe she just told on him, you know, tattletaled on him to his mother. And so the prey is the brother. Pouncing is, you know, maybe the tattletale that she did. So. And the last example, guys, the last one I want you to make sure you have down is explicit. Explicit metaphor uses be verbs such as is, are, we, were, were, be, been, being, and am. And there's 3 good examples there of explicit metaphors. As you notice, is a be verb. All right, so it's making a direct comparison between 2 things. My dad is my rock. My dad is being compared to a rock. Stable, person that's always there. My teenager's stomach is a bottomless pit, you know, just comparing how this teenager's stomach is always very hungry and he's always eating, or she. My little brother is a rugrat. So it's making that direct comparison to how that brother is very ornery and getting into trouble. Okay. All right. Any questions? This is an example. If you want to make sure you note this, highlight it or something. A symphony of crickets echoed through the forest. Okay, there's no real significant comparison made. A symphony of crickets means like these crickets were just all calling in unison throughout the forest, doing their mating calls primarily. And it echoed, it was just so very loud. Okay, so this echoed is talking about how the loudness is comparing how loud it was. And in this forest, so talking about the setting there. Okay, implicit means there's no be verbs used and there's no real direct comparison made. Okay. You guys have any questions on the notes? I know it went kind of fast. Okay. You guys have a poem that I need you to open. It's the very first poem that I posted on that figurative language assignment. It's called Empty Stomach. Okay, so empty stomach is actually a metaphor in the title. Okay, so the whole entire poem here is metaphoric of the title. Okay, so empty stomach is not, I want you to know that it's not literally an empty stomach. And that's kind of what figurative language does. I mean, it's non-literal, all right? So it's metaphoric, meaning that the empty stomach is making a comparison to how something or someone is feeling, possibly. Okay, so that's what it's going to, that's what we need to learn here. Okay, so what we got in here are 3 parts of this poem. This first part, you're going to have to summarize. You're going to summarize the middle part, okay? And then you're going to summarize the ending, all right? And it does change. At the beginning, we're going to find out a little bit about the mom and why she is so depressed, okay? In the middle, we're going to find out a little bit about the children and how they're handling their mom's distress and what she's doing about it. And at the end, we're going to find out a little bit more about the children and how they are affected by her distress. Okay? So here we have the mom sitting around all day holding a book. Sometimes the pages never turn, for her eyes find it impossible to read. Okay? So this mom is just sitting there reading the book, but she's not actually reading. You guys have all done this. You've all watched the TV, or you guys have read a book and you're not actually reading. You're just thinking about something else. Okay. And then we find out the cause. Since Dad left 2 weeks ago. All right. So it gives you the cause. Here we find out why she's just not really there. Okay. So then it says, they have been replaced by cold gray stones, meaning her eyes. Okay, her eyes find it impossible to read because they've been replaced by cold gray stones. No sparkle, no life. I told my little brother she's sick, but how can you diagnose someone for sadness? Despite everything, her anguish hangs in the stale air. Misery in every dirty dish, silent cries for help in the velvet elevator music. She uses as a futile attempt to erase the melancholy in our lives, which has so obviously coded our thoughts and words, so that we are deprived of hope, the hope that left as Dad shut the door on us one night. On my way to the kitchen to fetch my midnight snack, I caught a glimpse of Mom, doubled over the toilet, gagging up her pain. Agony and despair colored in the lines of her face. She looked my way, but saw right through me. I realized in her eyes I was transparent. I mean, it's clear, could see right through her. Just a body trying desperately to fill a void in her life that continues to be scooped out with every breath inhaled into her empty stomach. For now, at night, I just go hungry. Okay, so the empty stomach, metaphorically, is what is the empty stomach? Not literally an empty stomach, but what is the empty stomach? Anybody know my answer?
If your stomach is empty, what do you feel?
Despair.
Despair. Okay.
Yeah.
So this girl's, I mean, she's despair because, I mean, she can't, there's nothing from her mom. She's just living in this melancholy, sad state, right? She can't get her out of it. She's making excuses to her little brother. Like, she's just sick. She'll be all right. But her anguish, this mother's anguish, just sits there like in stale air. You guys ever been to a pond or something, or a river, you know, in the area that's stale and how dirty and gross it looks? So she uses a lot of words that are very, you know, they're negatively, the connotation is negative and it's sad. Okay, there's a lot of words that evoke that. Sadness, deprived, melancholy, futile. There's just nothing that she can do to get her mother out of this state. So, you know, she's gagging in pain. And, you know, and really, in reality, these kids, you know, they're going to go through, you know, until the mom gets help or before the mom changes, well, these kids are going to be in the same state, right? So, you know, they can't do anything because she just looks right past them. So, anyway, so there's a lot of things that that are metaphorically, you know, the empty stomach is not just talking about an empty stomach literally. It's talking about what their attention, the lack of attention that they're getting from their mother, okay? The lack of affection, all right? So, okay, so you guys, there are things that you have to do from the poem. The poignant images, we defined that in your notes. So you're gonna find 3 poignant images. I need you to summarize the beginning, middle, and end of the poem. What is happening there? Find a good quote that has to do with the mother's eyes that deal with the metaphor. Figure out whether it's implicit or explicit. The title, explain the meaning, 2 meanings of the title of the poem, and give me a cause and effect example, okay?